Apocalypse is tons of fun, great debuff damage, but you have to work hard. Well, you have to win 4 fights to then see the greatness that he has. Let's begin. He doesn't need to be awakened to be good. If you are looking to have this champion go to the very end and say from the first fight that you take a lot of damage, you can look to regen as the champion goes through on your team, but the other champions will be the ones that will do the fighting in his stead. It's a very weird thing to explain, but it's kind of like he's there dormant and your champions are fighting the fights as you go through the quest. He regens from fight to fight and then you can go like, oh, I'll just use him back again. And then it's all good and he's got some more health. It only stacks twice, unfortunately, with a level 200 signature, which is a little bit disappointing, but it's not just about that. And there's other things that make this champion really, really amazing. In my opinion, the thing that I like and also dislike is the utilization of genetic codes. Yes, genetic code can be used in order to create these amazing horsemen of the apocalypse, adding special little bits of synergy detail for damage output, utility, etc. But it does come at the cost, and that cost is at your genetic code, which you can see on screen at the moment. The more fights you do, the better it is for Apocalypse, from different things, from creating passive prowess, also for the ability of becoming stun immune, as well as striking the opponent's block with a light attack inflicts a stun debuff, which, look, if you faced off against him, you know all this stuff. But it does come at a cost, and I would say the damage output from the special attack damage, which a lot of players may have gone like, look, we saw the deep dive, he looks like a dud. It is beneficial to keep those prowess buffs on in order to maximize the damage output that the champion does. First of all, in order to start building debuffs on the enemy, you throw a light attack, a tap, with an SP1, which gives a weakness. You then do a medium attack, which is a swipe, into an SP1, which does the poison. You do a parry and a heavy attack to refresh the debuffs, and then you go on to the SP2. You do a tap, and then throw the SP2, so that's a light attack, and it gives a concussion. Then what you do is you do another parry heavy attack to refresh the debuffs, and you do the same thing, but with a medium attack, so a swipe, throwing an SP2, you give the Degen. By this time you've got 4 debuffs on the enemy, and if you need to parry and heavy in order to refresh those debuffs, that could be a good method to keep them on as you build up to an SP3. Throw that SP3 and you get a massive amount of damage, but especially if you've got the genetic code on with the prowess buffs. But what you've done is you've created permanent debuffs even. This is when you'll start seeing that damage output increase. So number 1, you've got 4 genetic code, which you've built up by going through 4 fights, unless you've got a specific synergy on. The second thing is that you've created all those debuffs. And then what you're looking to do is throw the special attacks. So you have the damage output increased by the prowess from the genetic code. Then you've also got the special attacks as of here. Each hit deals a burst of 792.72 physical damage for each personal weakness, poison, concussion, or degeneration on the opponent. So that's amazing. That's an amazing opportunity to maximize damage output. But as I said, the limitation with the champion largely comes from after you've done this, and maybe you've gone like, hey, well, I want to give another champion that's a mutant a try, then what you might be doing is creating a horseman of the apocalypse. So what you've done is you've given them 4 genetic code from your pre-fight ability. Now at this point you'd think that the champion is the debuff machine. Yes, the debuff machine that would be having an issue against those that would say immune to the likes of poison, bleed effects and other stuff, and as well shrugging off things. Well, with ability Total Molecular Control, the opponents suffer 100% Purify ability accuracy reduction. So champions like Rogue, like I believe Elsa Bloodstone, Ronin. So there would be a lot of champions out there, then this goes on, of those that just purify stuff. It's now reduced by 100%, so they're going to take it. They're going to take that debuff damage, which I think is pretty amazing, and as well helps towards the champion's sustainability from damage output from debuffs, which is so important for the champion to damage output. The only downside is if the champion goes up against double immunity, champions like Warlock, Ultron, Vision, etc. that would have double immunities to poison and bleed effects. but they wouldn't be immune to Degen, so there's still some viability there for that kind of effect. It just means that if you're utilizing more of the physical damage based on debuff damage on the enemy, it may not be there as much. However, there's also something of champions that have evade abilities. With each time the opponent evades, there's a plus 10% chance to bypass evade. So look, this champion is going to be handy against those Spider-Man, Spider-Women, and so many others that do that evade ability that just becomes annoying. Well, mostly all of them. I'm sure there will be some that will be a bit more frustrating. But still, I'm like, that's great. I'm all for that. That means that this champion can be used in wider areas. Now, I would like to do a load of videos on this champion and as well say the synergies of this champion, which I'll probably put out towards the end of the week, or I'll try and put out a couple today. I don't want to give you about 6 to 7 videos as it's just a bit too overkill, especially in one day to have. So maybe I'll stagger them, or maybe I'll put them out at the weekend. We'll have to see. But there are some really positive stuff that's coming in synergy-wise. From Kang getting some Fury buffs, which I think is so cool. I might want to do a video on that one because that excites me. But as well, the way the Horseman of Apocalypse works for building of damage output for standard Storm, so Classic Storm, Storm Pyramid X version, and as well Psylocke, Gambit and Wolverine. I will be doing a separate video about Archangel, as that's a great champion that interests me, and the same thing with Wolverine, but I'll kind of figure out how I'm going to put that in, and whether or not as well I maximize synergies with the likes of Prof X and as well Apocalypse, and whether or not it's worth doing to work towards doing, say, genetic code ×4 creates a horseman, and as well with the extent of Cerebro charges and giving them to Wolverine as well from that. I don't give them to it, but you know, he benefits from that. Either way, Apocalypse. I really enjoyed this champion. There has been a lot of rumours coming up about this champion not being as potent or not being as good as maybe labelled, but I would say it's all about persistency. The same thing with Corvus. Not saying this champion is exactly like Corvus because they function very differently. Build up 4 fights with this champion, and especially the greater the rarity, the more fun you'll have against content. And yes, you know, there's so many things to test out there, but look, you've got a champion that does debuffs, lots of debuff damage, works well with mutants on the team, and as well has great utility against those that would purify debuffs, and as well have evade abilities, which can be quite frustrating at times. So you've got something there that ticks a lot of boxes. Yes, my only criticism would be the extent of genetic code being lost to create a horseman, and as well if you want to go back and use Apocalypse, you have to work again to then gather up the genetic codes. You can build up quicker by smacking down mutants, and as well by having the Your Fate is Mine synergy, but that's an option for players if you're going, look, should I have this one? I don't want to have this one on my team. I need Mr. Sinister. I don't need Mr. Sinister. I need a quest that does have some mutants in it to fight in order to build up again. Those are the really fundamentals that you have to make a decision of when you grind. And on screen at the moment, and you can pause it, is my pros, cons, and as well just a little bit of advice when it comes to playing this champion. As I said, these are 2 champions I've massively wanted for what seems to be years, and I must admit I'm very impressed by what I've seen. I definitely think with both champions I need to learn a bit more on the playing style, but from an enjoyment perspective, I enjoy both of them. I think they're very easy to get on with, and as well very fun. Yep, for me, these are the first 2 champions I've enjoyed since Red Guardian, which I still don't have. So hopefully there's some crystals I could try and get these 2 new champions in. But thanks for watching this video. Check out some stuff that's going to be posted there. Also some other stuff in the far left-hand corner. And as well, Rich's Realm, which I might be live streaming today or had streamed. No promises, but I'm looking forward to playing a little bit more Marvel Realm. Appreciate you for supporting this video, and I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.